Alright, so in this video I just want to explain a little bit about why the Hyperion lion's mane extract is so much more expensive than many other products on the market, and how actually when we really understand what the product is, it's actually a much better value and a much better bargain and a much more potent product as well. So the first major distinction we need to keep in mind is that the vast majority of mushroom products on the market are basically mostly brown rice or oats. Now why I say that is because the vast majority of the products are made from just powdered or freeze-dried mycelium. And the mycelium can only consume about 50% of the growth medium or whatever that they're growing on, which is usually brown rice or oats, because those are kind of cheap substrates. And basically what happens is the mycelium can only eat about half of that, so then that aspect of the production is done, so then they just take that whole mass, powder it down, and then that's what you see on the shelf. And what people are paying really a lot of money for is just powdered up brown rice, which is very cheap. And usually it's kind of obvious. You can look at the product label and it might say serving size 1.5 grams, and then it'll say actually 800 milligrams, roughly about that, will actually be the mushroom or whatever it is, like lion's mane mycelium. And then it'll tell you the carbohydrates and the calories, which is telling you that you're mostly getting brown rice. But unless you really understood these kinds of things, which, let's face it, why would anyone if they weren't really into this? So basically, you might go to the local store, health food store, Whole Foods or something, and you see a product and you think, oh, this is $20 for this big bag of lion's mane, but actually it's $20 for 50% brown rice. And then you taste it and you're like, it's so sweet and whatever. It's like, yeah, because you're paying for mostly brown rice and then freeze-dried mycelium, which is not harmful, it's not bad, it's not in any way something you shouldn't take. I mean, just some people really like that, but to actually get the benefits of why you would actually want to take lion's mane, then I don't think it'll really have the value that people are looking for. Because there's another major misconception that people have, is that kind of all the products are created equal, meaning all the lion's mane products on the market, even if they're, let's say, not made from mycelium, even if they are, I would say a step beyond that is, say, a hot water extract, then that'll have the neurological cognitive benefits. But in actuality, that's not really the case, because the neurological benefits, the cognitive benefits, don't come particularly from the beta glucans, which is what people are kind of narrow-mindedly and kind of trendily focusing on these days. It actually more so comes from the arenosines and the hericenones, which is leading me to why the Hyperion extract is so much more expensive, because it contains 50% fruiting body and 50% mycelium in a hyper concentrated extract form that has third-party tested, verified high amounts of the arenosines and the hericenones, which is actually what you would want to consume for the neurological and for the cognitive benefits. Now, while we use half fruiting body and half mycelium, even though I just kind of disparaged mycelium, I'll unpack that. Basically, the fruiting bodies are organically grown on a hardwood and allowed to reach their full maturity, which takes more time, costs more money. And then the mycelium that we use is actually liquid fermented, meaning because we know that the mycelium can only consume 50% of the growth medium, we do it in a liquid base or a liquid substrate. That way all the liquid can be drained out, and then we're left with just the pure mycelium that then we can then use to concentrate down and use in the extraction process. So basically, using these two components and extracting them in a really kind of complicated, labor-intensive manner, we're able to end up with such high amounts of the hericenones and arenosines. And the reason why we have to use both is because the fruiting body contains one constituent but not the other, and the mycelium contains one constituent, not the other. So you combine them both together, you get both of the hericenones and the arenosines in their full spectrum in all of them, because there's different types and subtypes of each one. So you basically get all of those, and you actually get the things that are responsible for the neurological and the cognitive benefits, which to me is personally why lion's mane is so appealing in general. Because let's face it, if you just want a mushroom that's going to support your immune system, there's a dozen other ones that you can take, but pretty much only one that I know of that has the nerve generation benefits and properties is lion's mane, and it has those because of these chemicals. That's kind of, if you go a more scientific route, that's really what all the studies and everything suggest. And also just on my anecdotal experience, that's what I've noticed. I noticed a much greater benefit and effect when I was taking the product that I'm selling for basically the year before I even sold it. I was taking it myself in pretty high doses regularly just to see what the effects were, and then letting friends and people that I know try it as well and getting their feedback alongside, getting it third-party tests and all these things before I then decided, okay, this is worth it. Okay, this lives up to the hype, and okay, it is worth the additional cost, because it costs the consumer more, but it also costs me like a lot more. It'll cost more than double of the previous lion's mane extract that I was selling, but I didn't double my price. My old lion's mane was $45 for 4 ounces. The current one is $60 for 4 ounces. So it cost me more than double, but I didn't do that incremental increase because I try to keep my prices reasonable and accessible so that people can actually take it and take enough of it to get the benefits, which is why I also do the 16 ounce, 20% off bulk discount, just to further lower that barrier to entry so people can actually take it over a long enough period of time to get the benefits, which is ultimately was my intent when I even started the company in the first place, was to actually format and present the herbs and supplements in a way and at a price point and in a packaging that people can actually take them and actually get the benefits, and actually using herbs and supplements and powders that would actually yield the benefits. Because honestly, in my experience, most of the stuff, pretty much all the stuff I found in health food stores and from most companies didn't really have much effect or didn't really have a feel to it. And that's really the biggest thing that I get from people when they finally switch over to my stuff, is they actually feel something and they actually notice something from the products. And that's also another funny thing that comes up, is people sometimes used to taking so much of other products that I have to tell them, you don't need to take that much of this. You need a quarter teaspoon or a teaspoon at most, because it's much more concentrated and much more available. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense and explains a little bit why the Hyperion extract is so much more expensive. There's so much more going into it in terms of raw material and testing and research and production through that whole thing. And you're actually getting a lot more as verified by the third-party tests. And even if you go to the product page, we have listed out per teaspoon how much of each constituent you're getting, so people can kind of dose it out however they feel like it, or you can just take a teaspoon a day and keep it really simple. But to me, it's the best lion's mane extract I've ever come across, which is why I sell it in the first place, because that's basically why I sell anything, because I have to be excited about it personally, and I have to take it and want to take it myself on a regular basis. Otherwise, I couldn't really make these videos, and I couldn't have a company and do all these different things. So hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you have any more questions, because I know it can be confusing. There's so many products on the market, so many people saying so many different things, and you see the price point at first and you're like, whoa, this is $60, versus another company's charging $20. Why is it 3 times more? It's like, well, you can take a fraction of my product and get exponentially more benefits. And there's no fillers, there's no growth mediums, there's no flow agents, there's no nothing. It's a pure extract. So it's actually, in the long term, it's actually cheaper if you think about it, at least basically cost per dose for what you're actually getting versus, So anyways, yeah, usually once people click over and start trying my products, they kind of stick around for a long time. I've had filming this in 2022. I've had this company for well over 12 years now, and I have people that have been with me from day one for that very reason, because the vast majority of my products are the same things that I've been selling for 12 years, the same level of potency and quality, if not a bit better, because they're good and they work and they're effective. And to me, that's kind of the best business strategy and kind of the most efficient for me personally as well. So